So today is the auspicious day where we begin reading the Bhagavad Gita again. This will be our third time through during this whole lockdown scenario. And so joining us today, we got two people from the other side of the world, as far away as you can get from North Carolina. And we've got, okay, anyway, there'll be more people joining. So Chapter 1, Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Text number 1. I'll have to recite the Sanskrit for this because this is such an important verse. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kimmakurvata sanjaya. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Isaac, are you familiar with the backstory on this at all?
Somewhat, not 100% though. It needs some refreshing.
You know, go ahead. Otherwise, if I tell it, I'm going to tell the whole Mahabharata and we'll never get out of here. So who's this Dhritarashtra? He's the first word in the Bhagavad Gita. Most people, when they see that, they look at that and they just said, I don't think I can read this. Because it's hard to pronounce. But tell us a little bit about the backstory. Who's Dhritarashtra?
Who are you talking to, Prabhu? Or any of us?
Isaac.
Oh no, I don't know.
Just what you do know. Go ahead.
Is it the
Anything, just one word about him.
is it the person that's recording the battle?
Oh, okay. You're thinking of Sanjaya. Sanjaya is the person he's talking to.
Oh, okay.
And Dhritarashtra, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? So Dhritarashtra, he's got 100 sons, and the oldest one is pretty bad news. He's been nothing but trouble his whole life. The other sons are not so bad, but they've been misled by that older son. And it's pretty much just one guy who's created this whole thing, this whole really awful situation. So Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjay, as you said, the guy who's reporting, he's reporting it from, he can see what's going on far away. And Dhritarashtra is asking, what's going on out there? They've all assembled there to fight my sons against their cousins, the five brothers who are the sons of my brother, Pandu. All right, next verse. Go ahead and read the next verse, Isaac.
Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words.
Okay, Duryodhana is the oldest son. He's the bad news guy. And Yudha means fight, and Dur means bad. So it's like his name is Dirty Fighter. It's pretty like, wow, what kind of name is that?
Wow.
Dirty Fighter, Duryodhana. So he went to his teacher and spoke the following words. All right, Anandi, you ready with text 3?
O my teacher, Behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Dropada.
And we could go into all kinds of backstories here, but I think we'll just keep going on. We want to try to get into the main story. Text 4, go ahead. Would you?
Here in this army are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yuyudhan, Virata, and Drupad.
So many names. We're just going to skip over them. If you know the story, that's cool. If not, just hang on. I don't want to distract from the story that's coming up. Text 5, there are also great, heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chikitana, Kashiraja, Purujit, Kuntiboja, and Shaibya. He's describing to his guru, his teacher, the one that taught him how to fight, saying, look at our side. We got some good people. So he's naming them off. Go ahead, text 6.
There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamaja, the son of Supaja, and the sons of Drupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters.
But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are specially qualified to lead my military force.
There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashvatham, Vikarna, the son of Samudatta, called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle.
There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science. So here he's bragging, saying, all these people are ready to lay down their lives for me. Isn't that cool? Aren't I great? So you're going to see Arjuna, he sees things a little differently. Next verse.
Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhisma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited.
All of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army.
Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy.
After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous.
On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells.
Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. How do you say that?
Panchajanya.
Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrible conch shell called Poundra.
King Yudhishthir, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijay, and Nakul and Sahadev blew the Sughosh and Manipushpaka. The great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter, Sikandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupad, the sons of Draupadi, and others, O king, such as the Matyam son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells.
The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. So let's read this purport.
When Bhishma and the others on the side of Duryodhana blew their respective conch shells, there was no heartbreaking on the part of the Pandavas. Such occurrences are not mentioned, but in this particular verse, it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dharashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party.
This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity.
Okay, next verse.
Quite applicable to today.
Oh,
The
what's
fear,
that?
nothing to fear, even in the midst of great calamity. It's quite relevant to today.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
Good point. Are we? Yes, we are in a calamity. I forgot about that.
There you go.
And just got caught up in reading the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. So read that again, Anandi. Your 2
Oh,
sentences.
whoops. Maybe somebody else could do it because I have to get back to it.
This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity.
Yeah, good. Having confidence in Lord Krishna.
Mm.
And just interesting how that confidence could shatter your enemy's hearts.
Mm.
It's kind of what you guys are all about down there in New Zealand with your haka dance.
Right.
That's kind of what's going on here with the conch shell blowing.
Yes.
And when they do that dance and they make all those sounds and pound on their
Yeah.
chests and stick their tongue out and make menacing faces, that's how they would start the battle, just to try
Yeah.
to intimidate each other.
Yep.
And yeah, if they do that dance really strong, like their confidence shows through,
Yes.
you be kind of like, I don't know. Should we just turn around and maybe we should just talk this over and work this out?
Right.
Yeah, when you see someone that's really confident and fearless, I remember hearing about some army, some super fanatical army, and all of their soldiers, they had a, a cyanide pill, and they'd hold it in their mouth, and like, I'm ready to die today, and
Mm.
either I'll die by you shooting me, or I'm going to eat this cyanide. I don't care. I don't care about dying. And
Wow.
man, if you're fighting someone like that, it's like, woo.
Wow.
There's a saying, let's see if I can remember how it goes. Never pick a fight with something that's meaner than you are.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so by blowing their conch shells, this heart shattering, let's see, the blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Hridayam Vyadarayat. Hridayani. Hridayani Vyadarayat. Hridayani means hearts. Vyadarayat, shattered. Okay, and remember, this is Sanjay speaking to Dhritarashtra. So it's like a literary device. We're hearing the Bhagavad Gita through Dhritarashtra's ears. And we're kind of feeling for him. Like, of course, after you've read the Mahabharata, you start like not really liking Dhritarashtra very much.
Mm.
And you're like, come on, like, when are you going to wake up and snap out of this? You're living in this dream world. You're being pushed around by your emotions and you've become weak, allowed your son to get away with all kinds of awful things. When are you going to grip on your emotions? And then, well, here's an interesting thing. That's the same message that is given to Arjuna. Get a grip on your emotions. This is your job. This is something that you've been waiting a long time for. And you're letting a few people get in your way. You're letting your emotions keep you from accomplishing what has really been a life goal throughout his life. I mean, even in childhood, Duryodhan was mistreating those five brothers. That's going to be coming up in another purport, so we'll save those stories for then. All right, text 20. Muchu, read the verse.
At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot, bearing the flag marked with, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to the Lord Krishna these words.
Okay, his flag, he was seated on a chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, and the purport is going to talk about that flag. So let's read that. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield.
The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Rama in the battle between Rama and Ravana, and Lord Rama emerged victorious. Now both Rama and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him.
Lord Krishna is Rama himself, and wherever Lord Rama is, his eternal servitor Hanuman and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore, Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever.
And after all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus, all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing.
In such auspicious conditions, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. Okay, so ready to fight, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna these words. Next verse, go ahead.
Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms.
This is important. Let's read this purport.
Although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible.
As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged.
In all circumstances, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rishikesh, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental.
The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders.
Since he is master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master in all circumstances.
As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield there.
Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. So back in the previous paragraph, the relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. So Krishna really likes that when he's got some devotee who sees him as a friend, or the devotee sees Krishna as their child. Like, where do you find religious principles that say you should threaten Krishna with a stick and tie him up with a rope? That's not a normal thing. You won't find that in any religious scriptures. Or that you should wrestle with him, or throw things at him, or steal food from his plate. But his friends would do all kinds of tricks like that. And they would play with him and wrestle with him, and sometimes they would win. And then they would say things like, Krishna, you want to fight with me? That's a joke. I saw that other guy beat you up, and I know I can beat him up. And I think it's just ridiculous that you're challenging me. But come on, I'll take you on right now. And these kinds of things they're in the nectar of devotion. And sometimes they would do things like one of the cowherd boys said, Krishna, I've got something really good for you. Close your eyes and open your mouth. And then he put a flower in Krishna's mouth. And Krishna made a face and spit it out. Hey, Will.
Hare
Welcome.
Krishna.
We're in chapter 1, and we just read the purport to text 22.
Okay.
So in 22, Arjuna orders Krishna, take my chariot in between the two armies. And Prabhupada refers to this verse a lot. You'll find this in his verses. In his lectures, he'll say, Senayo rubayo madhye ratam stapayame chuta. That's about as far as he would quote in this. Just the idea of Arjuna commanding Krishna. And he gives that as an example of the devotee. It starts ordering Krishna around. We read that last night too in one of the purports. Yeah. Anyone remember how that went? About Krishna, let's see, becoming the friend of Krishna. The devotee sees Krishna as the most intimate friend, and Krishna also sees the devotee as the most intimate friend, and tends to the devotee's welfare, tends to their needs. So that's what's going on. Another important thing about this verse, Lord Chaitanya, he was traveling throughout South India, 500 years ago. And let's see, where was that? Somewhere in South India, it was a great big temple town full of Brahmins and Pandits. And there's this one man who was sitting there reading Bhagavad Gita. And Lord Chaitanya noticed this guy was crying. And so he asked, how is your reading going on? And the Brahmin said, well, my guru ordered me to read Bhagavad Gita every day. But I'm not so educated. I can sort of read. Sometimes I pronounce it properly, sometimes not. And sometimes people laugh at me for reciting it incorrectly. And Lord Chaitanya said, yeah, but why are you crying? The devotee said, because every time I open up the Bhagavad Gita, I see a picture in my mind of Krishna driving the chariot for Arjuna, and I become overwhelmed how the Supreme Lord has become the servant of his devotee. And because of that, these emotions come up and I can't control myself. I can't keep from crying. It wasn't like he was trying to cry every day, but he couldn't help it. And so Lord Chaitanya, he embraced him, and he was crying just to see someone with that level of devotion. And Lord Chaitanya said, you are the real reader of Bhagavad Gita. You have the real understanding of Bhagavad Gita. So that's a pretty bold statement. Someone that can't even pronounce it properly, but having that emotion, that's where the Bhagavad Gita is supposed to take us. All right, so the next verse, go ahead, Isaac.
20. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra.
Next verse.
Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties.
The fine chariot. And what was the flag on top of that chariot?
Hanuman.
Hanuman.
Yeah, flag marked Hanuman. Next verse.
In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold, Partha, all the Kurus are as assembled here.
And let's see, Will, read the next verse, 26.
There Arjuna could see, within the midst of the armies of both parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his fathers-in-law and well-wishers.
There were a lot of people there, a lot of soldiers. We looked it up last time we went through this chapter to see how many people were killed in the Battle of Kurukshetra. Were you with us on that discussion, Anandi?
Yes, it was an insane number, like millions, right?
It was, no, billions.
Billions.
It was like, what's the whole population of India? It's like 1.5 billion. And how many people were there? According to the Mahabharata, that was the number given. How many people died in this battle? Everybody in India. And so out of, and on both sides, half of 1.5 billion. So then Krishna pulls the chariot right up where he can see Arjuna's guru and his grandfather. Or let's see, we read 26, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties, his fathers. Well, his own father, Pandu, died while Arjuna was very young. But fathers would be people who had acted as his fathers, father figures, grandfathers, particularly Bhishma, teachers, that's Drona, maternal uncles, brothers. Well, brothers means like cousin brothers. Sons, that would be the sons of his cousins. Grandsons, friends, and also his fathers-in-law and well-wishers. Fathers-in-law, people he was married to, his wife's fathers were in there. So they're all, yeah, it was a civil war. It was just awful.
Interesting that you said sons means the sons of his cousin, because generally we think Sun's my own son, and not only these weren't even the sons of his brothers, but of his cousins. So that's quite far removed, and yet it's referring to basically nieces,
Or
right?
yeah, nephews. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's quite inspiring. Like that means I have, if I was to take on that mood, I would try to be more responsible for my nieces and nephews.
Yeah, there's really a close bond in family in India and around the world, except for America and New Zealand. But
Actually, New Zealand, the Kiwis have a very strong, very similar whānau or family um, focus.
okay, oh good. In Australia,
I don't think so.
No,
no.
no.
Okay, let's go on. Let's see, who read the last verse?
I think I did.
Okay, so text 27. When the son of Kunti, Arjun, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus.
Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up.
My whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning.
I'm now unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune, O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon."
Okay, let's read the purport. Now, this is just the opposite of how they felt after blowing the conch shells.
Mm.
Remember when in the purport it said, because of their confidence in Krishna, they were free from all fear, and that intimidated the opposite side,
Mm.
the fearlessness. Now Arjuna is feeling something different. Will, your turn.
Are we reading the purport?
Purport, yeah, 2 sentences.
Okay. Due to his impatience, Arjuna was unable to stay on the battlefield, and he was forgetting himself on account of this weakness of his mind. Excessive attachment for material things puts a man in such a bewildering condition of existence.
Bhayam dvitiya viniveshata syat, from the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. Such fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium take place in persons who are too affected by material conditions. Arjuna envisioned only painful reverses in the battlefield. He would not be happy even by gaining victory over the foe.
The words nimittani viparitani are significant. When a man sees only frustrations in his expectations, he thinks, "Why am I here?" Everyone is interested in himself and his own welfare.
No one is interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna is showing ignorance of his real self-interest by Krishna's will.
One's real self-interest lies in Vishnu or Krishna. The conditioned soul forgets this and therefore suffers material pains.
Arjuna thought that his victory in the battle would only be a cause of lamentation for him.
Boy, Prabhupada's getting pretty rough on Arjuna here in the
Yeah,
purport.
give peace a chance.
What's that?
I said, give peace a chance. I can understand Arjuna's
Yeah,
position.
yeah. But really, it's not Arjuna's nature to give peace a chance. That's really the point of the Bhagavad Gita. That's why throughout this, Krishna is saying, you got to act according to your nature. And yeah, I'm all about like, let's talk this through. And they really did give it a gallant effort of finding a peaceful settlement. Um, they went and even tried to negotiate. Look, you took everything away from us. Why don't you just give us each a village to govern? Give us something. And you know what Duryodhan's answer was? What was his?
No.
Well, do
He,
you know?
he said that I won't even give you an inch or something like that,
He
right?
said, I won't give you enough land that you could drive a pin into it.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Oh,
And he ripped him off. They had gotten everything legitimately, and then he cheated them in a gambling match, and then said, all right, look, we'll make a settlement. If you go live out in the woods for how many years?
14.
14 years.
Yeah.
And then you can have it all back. And so they did that. I said, okay, all right. And during all those 14 years, they could have just gathered everybody up and said, these guys are jerks. Let's go have a fight. And they would have gotten support. But they said, no, we made an agreement. We're gonna hold to this. And they held to it, and they came back after 14 years and said, all right, here we are. Give it back. And Duryodhan said, no, not gonna. But you said you would. No, not gonna. But you made an agreement. What kind of person are you? Get out of here. He just said, get out of here. You're trespassing. This is my palace now. This is my army. He wouldn't accept anything. Uh, okay. So finally it's all lined up. All right, here we go. We're gonna fight. And Arjun was one of the brothers who was saying, look, older brother Yudhishthir, we should just go and have a fair fight with these people. And Yudhishthir said, nope, it's not. It's not right. We've made an agreement. We're going to wait. And so finally, here it is. And Arjuna is saying, how's it? When a man sees only frustration in his expectations, he thinks, why am I here? You ever felt like that? Why am I here?
Yes.
How did I
yeah.
get in this crazy situation? Everyone is interested in himself and his own welfare. Well, that's natural. No one is interested in the supreme self. Uh, okay, maybe we are a little bit, but what's he trying to say there? That sounds a little cold and kind of rough on Arjun and kind of rough on us too when we ask ourselves, why am I here? How would thinking of the supreme self make the situation different? Anyone have an idea? We're counting on you, Mucho, but you got distracted.
Um,
Why am I here? I was hoping you guys would help sort that one out.
We'd like to know.
Yeah. What is Prabhupada saying here? No one is interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna is showing ignorance of his real self-interest by Krishna's will. One's real self-interest lies in Vishnu or Krishna. Now he's quoting that from, is it the 5th canto, Bhagavatam? Nate vidu swartagatim hi Vishnu durashaya ye bahiratamanina andha yatanda rupaniyamanas tepi shatantriyam urudham nibana. That one's real self-interest is in Vishnu, but most people are interested in external things, and therefore they engage. They're like a blind person following another blind person who's following another blind person. Te Pisha Tantriyam Urudhamni Bada. And then they're all tied down by the heavy ropes of karma. Okay, so no one's come up with anything? It ain't happening today. Why am I here? Okay, we're just going to leave that as a puzzle. And maybe we'll find an answer later on. Creating tension here.
Isn't that the start of the spiritual journey, though? When you say, why am I here? Why was I born?
Oh, yeah, good point.
That's the beginning.
Yeah. And that's with the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, too.
Right. And we don't have Vishnu talking to us in words, like this.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go into meditation and figure it out.
Yeah. Actually, we read
I
about
mean, I
that.
wish Vishnu would talk to me.
Yeah. Well, we read about that last night in that purport, where Prabhupada said, some people say Arjun had Krishna right there to give him directions. But those same words are there for us, and we follow the dictations. Let's see, how did he word this? In one place he said, by the super soul within, kind of
Yes.
like what you're talking about through meditation. But in the purport last night, he said, you find a suitable spiritual master who can give you positive directions. And then you also have these words of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And then I mentioned the purport that we had read just the day before in the Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada said the same thing, only he said, people who aren't interested in making spiritual progress will say, well, Krishna was there to speak to Arjuna directly, but I don't have that, so I'm not even going to try. So Prabhupada uses some strong language against those people, and he says, look, here it is, right here in the Bhagavad Gita. You can take those words and get all the same benefits as Arjuna. All right, text 31. Let's move on. Whose turn?
Let's see, I guess I read last.
Yeah, and you only got one sentence, so go ahead, read the verse.
Okay. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness.
Next verse.
Oh, Govinda, of what? Oh, no. It's whose time?
Yeah, it's your turn. Isaac.
Oh, okay. O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusadana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and property and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will be derived from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra?
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What would we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen?
All right, let's go through this purport, because this is the one that talks about all the things that they did against Arjuna and his brothers. Mucha?
According to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. A poison giver, one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who plunders riches, one who occupies another's land, and one who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed when no sin is incurred by killing. such aggressors.
Okay, and so Duryodhana had done all 6 of those things against the Pandavas. And so here in the verse, he's saying sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. But they're pointing this out that, actually they were completely justified in fighting against these people. Okay, go ahead, Will.
Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting in any ordinary man. Is quite befitting any ordinary man. But Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness.
This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly.
For example, Lord Rama was so saintly that people even now are anxious to live in the kingdom of Lord Rama, Rama Ragya. But Lord Rama never showed any cowardice. Ravana was an aggressor against Rama because Ravana kidnapped Rama's wife, Sita, but Lord Rama gave him sufficient lessons unparalleled in the history of the world.
In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe steps necessary against ordinary aggressors.
Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than kill his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on the grounds of religion and saintly behavior.
He did not therefore consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsmen?
Arjuna's addressing Krishna as Madhava, the husband of the goddess of fortune, is also significant in this connection. He wanted to point out to Krishna that as husband of the goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune.
Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees.
So it's complex, and political decisions are always complex. You have to weigh all of these things. Sometimes someone really deserves punishment, but it's not the right time. And yeah, if you jump on it right away, it could cause more problems. And then sometimes by not jumping on it right away, it causes more problems, and you're never really certain how it's going to go. People are really unpredictable. We know about the 3 energies: the internal, spiritual energy, the external, material energy, and we are the marginal energy. We know when you're working with material energy, if you pour water, it goes down, it freezes, it boils, it does the same thing consistently. Spiritual energy, when you approach spiritual energy, you become happy. But when you work with the marginal energy, with people, it's always full of surprises. You never know how people are going to respond, and like whatever decision you make, it could go really well or it could not go well. And that brings up the 5 factors of action. And the Daiva supersoul being the 5th factor. Yeah, how to leverage that. We want to. Yeah. Okay, so Arjuna's confused. He doesn't know what to do. He just sees bad in all directions. Okay, next verse. Go ahead, Isaac.
37. O Janada, although these men, their heart overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we? Who can see the crime in destroying a family engaged in these acts of sin?
Purport.
Um, a Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he's so invited by some rival party. Under such an obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he had been challenged by the party of Duryodhana.
In this connection, Arjuna considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjuna, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge.
Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decided not to fight.
Next verse. With the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. Next verse.
When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vishnu, comes unwanted progeny.
An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performance for offering them food and water are entirely stopped.
By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated.
O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell.
Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own kinsmen.
Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield.
O Sanjaya said, O Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief.
Purport.
While observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge.
Thus then, the Bhaktivedanta purports to the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Usually we go on a few verses into chapter 2 because it's still kind of the same conversation. How are you guys doing for time? You want to go another 10 minutes?
Yeah, I have to run. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
you.
See you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
Right.
Bye.
Haribol.
Everybody else,
Bye.
another 10 minutes. Go ahead, Will.
Text 1? Okay. Chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. Text 1. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words.
Purport. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization.
The word Madhusadana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in discharge of his duty.
No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dressed and drowning man is useless.
A man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily.
Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and his conduct was not expected, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him.
This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Shri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in a fixed conception of the real self.
Okay, that was a good summary of the chapter. Read those two again.
This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Shri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in a fixed conception of the real self.
Okay, so the first half of chapter 2, which we will read tomorrow, goes into that analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Shri Krishna. Then we'll quit at text 40, and we'll begin there the next day on the second half of chapter 2, which is, this realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. So that's Buddhi Yoga. The first half, we see this word, let's see, is it in the first verse? Ashupurna collection. No, but Shochati. Shochati is used throughout the first half, which means lamentation. And Ashochanan Vashochastvam Pragyavaram Chavashase. That'll be the first verse spoken by Krishna. Let's see, make sure. Arjuna gives more of a speech. Wait, did I miss something? Yeah, text 11 is Krishna speaking Ashochan Anvashochastvam. So Ashochan, not worthy of lamentation. Anvashocha, you are lamenting. Pragyavadams, you're speaking learned words. Shabashase. But a learned person, nanushochanti pandita, a learned person doesn't have this shocha, doesn't lament about anything. Because the learned person just has that different kind of vision that everything's fine. Everything just is. Sometimes you hear those kind of phrases, and you'll see that in thinkers throughout the world, in all different philosophy systems. Kind of comes down to different levels of it doesn't matter. Even the Beatles song wants to sing that phrase from Strawberry Field.
Let it be.
Oh yeah, okay, that's there too. I was thinking of it doesn't matter much to me.
Oh yeah.
And this too shall pass.
What was that?
This too shall pass.
Yeah, that's where's that from?
I thought it was the Beatles in some song.
Oh, all things must pass.
Oh, it's the album song, isn't it? The album name.
George Harrison.
George Harrison's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that-
we're really diving deep into the Beatles philosophy. But it's also in Buddhism, in Christianity. Where else? What other philosophical traditions are there? Islam, I'm not so familiar with. Not sure how they handle things, but the idea is that everything just is what it is, and there's no reason, nothing to get hung about.
In Stoicism, they have this
Yeah.
value called there's a few that are very much like that. One is amor fati, which means love of fate. So whatever it is, just love it, no matter what's going on. That's okay, and actually, it's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Since we're getting into quoting songs, love the one you're with.
right.
With the one you love, and love the one you're with. Yeah, Mochi, we got to get that going. We just got to have a song, a theme song for each chapter.
Right. I mean, Krishna says to Arjuna, right? Notre spices to Kunteya.
Yep.
Pretty much amor fati, that just tolerate whatever's going on. Just tolerate.
Amor fati.
Yeah.
Okay, what is that? Latin?
I think it's Greek, because the Stoics had a lot of Greek
Okay.
language, isn't it?
Yeah. And I noticed another person is lurking here that we don't get to see. Is that Laura?
And that's me. Yes, hi. I find it so interesting that you're talking about the Greeks. I was literally just talking to my friend about Greek culture. So you were just talking about different cultures. Like, what specifically were you regarding?
This first half of chapter 2.
Okay, I actually zoomed in a little bit late, so I missed it. We're doing the Bhagavad Gita, right?
That's right.
Okay,
We're-
let me grab my book really quick.
Okay. Oh boy, here we go. We're going to be on another half hour now.
You know I got all the questions.
Oh,
All right.
yeah. We're just going to be giving her a...
Okay, this is the chapter that I was most interested in last time that we were talking about, the Sadaputta, right?
About what?
Sadaputta?
Yeah.
What was that again?
Well, that's getting off topic.
Okay, I just remember because I made a little note. I put a sticky note inside the book.
Oh, okay. We have just finished reading chapter 1, and we're just going into a bit of chapter 2. In the first half of chapter 2 talks about getting free from lamentation, and if you look at 2:11, the Sanskrit, this is where Krishna begins speaking to Arjuna, and he says, Ashochan anvashochastvam. He says that ashochan means that which is not worthy of lamentation. Anvashocha, you are lamenting. And so we brought up how religions and philosophies throughout the world, all different cultures, come up with this same idea of amor fati, just love what is, and don't get so hung up. And we quoted Beatles songs and other songs. And let's see, we could go into Taoism too. Just the way of the Tao. Don't get in the way. The Tao is happening. And when you live properly, just have good inner character and good vision. And instead of trying to change your whole environment, just change the vision. Take a different perspective. And that's what Krishna is doing. He's giving Arjuna a different perspective. something he's going to say in here, because Arjun said, if we win, that doesn't look good, because all our friends are going to be dead. If we lose, that doesn't look good either. Why am I here? What am I doing here? This just looks bad in all directions. But Krishna in here is going to say, you know, you're a Kshatriya. If a Kshatriya dies in battle, they go to, what's the Greek thing? Or not Greek, but the Vikings, Valhalla. And if we win, you get this really nice kingdom. You get good things. So instead of seeing only bad, I see only good. You're in a really good situation. There's a lot of Kshatriyas who would gladly take your position. They would love to be killed in a battle. They love that. Or even more, they would love to have a legitimate battle to fight and win and gain things. So let's, shall we go back and read a couple more verses just to kind of get Arjun's speech finished up? Text 2. Oh, this is the first thing that Krishna said.
These 10 was
Somebody, yeah, go ahead, Isaac.
Okay. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy."
In the next verse.
Okay. O son of Pratha, do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy.
And he called him petty weakness of heart. Go ahead, Will.
Arjuna said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship?
Laura, do you see text 5?
Yes. It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood.
Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield.
Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me.
I can find no means to drive away the sleep which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom, or on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven.
Sanjaya said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastiser of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight. And he fell silent.
Laura?
O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna.
And we're back to 11 now. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. And we'll save that for tomorrow. Laura, do you have your book handy?
I do.
Poems. Let's hear
Oh, okay.
chapter 1. Let's hear the second half of chapter 1. Just jump in the middle.
All right.
Of it. You guys are going to like this.
So we have like a whole bunch of new people on this Zoom, right?
Oh yeah, it's a fresh new crowd.
Nice to meet you guys. My name is Laura. Hi. Here,
Hare Krishna.
Probably 'cause-
So you can see me. Hold on.
She's the mystery. Okay, get your book ready
Hi.
though.
All right.
Oh, look, you got lights on today.
Yeah, I can actually see now. All right. So chapter 1. Which text did you want me to start from?
Start in the middle.
All right. Okay.
Or
Okay.
text
So
21
text-
or so.
24. Is that good?
Sure.
Okay. Arjuna melts down. So then, before the deadly war, Sri Krishna shook the reins, and soon Arjuna's scene was in between the two campaigns. Arjuna's wise, transcendent friend, and now his charioteer, said, "Look, Arjuna, check the flock of frenzied fighters here." Arjuna spied on both sides all his family, friends, and guides. The fight implied from fratricide to triumph or to die. He gawked in shock at family stock and friends in battle gear. He teared, felt weird, and bent the ear of his dear charioteer. Speaking of battle, battle ready. All right, Arjuna, to see my folks provoked enough to fight until they die, making all my limbs start shaking as my mouth is breaking dry. Gandiva slips my fingertips and gripping, trembling hand, my hair is erect, skin burns unchecked, effects I cannot stand. My mind is taking flight, and I am right behind as well. What right can come from such a fight? It's frightening as hell. What useful end descends from killing relatives and friends? Things a kingdom brings would sting if I were missing them. Now please explain what I will gain by winning this domain, when those whose veins contain my blood are slain on this terrain. Our grandfathers and fathers and the fathers of our wives, our sons and even grandsons here to bargain with their lives. My uncles, chums, and gurus viewing me so viciously. Why should I kill or wish them ill, though they may still kill me? I won't fight to own 3 worlds, let alone this single earth. With Dhritarashtra's son destroyed, what would our joy be worth? Though they repress us, messing up your loved ones is a crime. What happiness is worth it? I'd regret it all the time. Some lesser, stressed out freak might finish off his family. All right, I'm starting to echo.
Okay.
Somebody mute your mic.
All right, I kind of just stopped there halfway because I was echoing. Let's see. I think it stopped. I think we're good. Okay. With Dhritarashtra's sons destroyed, what would our joy be worth? Though they repress us, messing up your loved ones is a crime. What happiness is worth it? I'd regret it all the time. Some lesser stressed out freak might finish off his family, but why should we with wisdom wreck our world-class dynasty? A convincing cop-out? So these are texts 39 to 45. When families suffer fissions, their traditions are destroyed, imprisoning survivors in an irreligious void. Where evil deeds predominate, the females are defiled, and unplanned children span the world unloved and running wild. Gestation of such population raises hell for all, with festering ancestors all forsaken left to fall. A man whose actions fracture first-class family tradition apparently disparages the whole human condition. Now, Krishna, I have listened to much wisdom and know well, a man who murders relatives makes life a living hell. How strange to be arranging such derangement to begin, since conquering a kingdom calls for killing off our kin. Now let my wicked cousins come and crush me to the ground. Much better that than living fat if they are not around. Sanjaya. Arjuna started swooning and removed his arrow sheath, collapsing on his chariot, his mind consumed with grief. And that begins chapter 2.
That's awesome.
Yep, I love this book. It was written by Kalakanta Das. This is what it looks like.
Ah.